how many people here, when I talked to many of you before this program started, I heard many people saying, I want to build a robot, and then I also heard many people say, I'm interested in gaming. So how many people here play games, make games, have anything to do with games? Quite, yeah, it's like a lot of people. So I don't make games or play games, but I recently, after I met all of you guys, tried this thing called the Oculus Rift. I know, right? It's so awesome. Someone lent this to me until September. So everybody who wants to try it, we can do a demo. It's yes, you can try this. So I tried this thing and I was instantly like blown away. This isn't really, I mean, this is really brand new to me. So like where you guys are at struggling with your engineering project, I'm in the same place. I've been working with this for like 2 months. It's a little longer than you guys, but I'm struggling big time. So I'll show you guys like some of the things that I'm having trouble with. But I have a working demo. So my background, I'm an electrical engineer, and I work as a consultant, so lots of different kinds of jobs. And one of the things that I do a lot of is connecting humans to the machine, and by the machine I mean a process equipment. So a piece of process equipment might be something that makes solar, it might be something that puts a bunch of dog food through a shaker to sort by size. It might be something that measures pressure, makes beer. There's so many different applications, anything to do with manufacturing. So a control system is more or less the same in all of these processes. You have to understand what the process is, but it's inputs and outputs, much like many of you are doing with the Arduino. So here's a couple of examples of what I mean. So in the top, just left, this is it's an HMI, so human-machine interface. That's a touch screen. You push a button on the touch screen, something happens. Maybe it's a switch that allows heat to go through. It's an X-ray that turns on to evaluate a solar panel. I mean, any kind of output that can happen from pushing a button. The car is also an example of a human-machine interface, right? You're turning the steering wheel, there's a sensor in there, it knows what position to put the wheels in, there's some feedback, same idea. So, in software, the way that two things connect, like the computer to the mouse, the computer wirelessly to my phone, some of these projects, some of you, like, you're someone who's doing wireless. What did I ask about? Yeah, so you're dealing maybe with tags. Do you know that expression?
No, I'm not really familiar with that.
So, even in the Bluetooth, and I'm not sure how it looks software-wise, you would have a tag for how do things talk to each other. This phone puts out a tag for its accelerometer, and it's called, I don't actually know what it's called, but let's just call it Excel. So the data that flies through the air to my computer is called Excel. The software that I use has something called get.acceleration.x, and the same for .y.z. And that's how these two things talk to each other. And it's how anything with a button talks to anything with a switch or anything with an output. And for your Bluetooth application, I'm sure that's what's going on. There's two things that have the same tag and know
that's how they can receive from each other, right?
Exactly. Receive and transmit data in that tag. So it's like a memory address, like a little block where the data goes in and the data goes out. So process equipment, that's what I do in my regular life, but this is so much more exciting. Wish I could do this in my regular life. So, has anyone here tried this? You have? You like it? And you tried it too?
Yeah.
Do you have one? Either of you? No? This is available, but it's only available as a developer thing. So I have a borrowed one. The one that's coming out in September. It's $350. Very expensive, but anyone can pre-order this awesome piece of equipment. So, virtual reality. Has anyone tried any virtual reality rides? Disney, anything? Oh, yeah. So there's a ride at Disney that I like very much where you're sitting in a chair and you're watching something happen and they're telling you there's a monster coming and you hear in your ears like breathing. And the breathing's coming out of the chair. They have these little sounds and fans. And so if you have really want your imagination to go there, you can sit in the chair and like hear all this stuff happening. And they have water that flies across the room too to simulate blood and things being attacked in the room while you're there. It's pretty immersive. This thing puts this whole experience, the visual part of the experience, inside here. There's 2 screens, and these are cell phone screens. So I wanted to tell you guys about a project that I'm working on, and it's called Bounce. And the idea of the project is that we have real-world trampolines with force sensors in them that measure when you hit the trampoline, when you rise up in the air, and when you come back. So in the real world, you're bouncing on the trampoline. And this is what you see in the virtual world. Again, I've only been doing this for a couple months, so I think this will become more elaborate as time goes on. But the idea is that you bounce from hill or mountain to mountain. And the sensors measure at how high you're going up. And so as you're looking in the glasses, you see the world moving with you. And for those of you who have not tried this, it will become clear like how immersive these glasses are. As soon as you put them on, you're in it. So you would feel like you're bouncing. So the object of my game, jump in the real world, grab the clouds. Clouds are good to grab, some clouds are rain clouds, you grab them, which triggers an output. So this is again, this human-machine interface with the tags. You grab a cloud in the virtual world, the tag of data says rain cloud. The water gun over here says, oh, rain cloud, and squirts you. And that's the object of the game. And all your points are shown on some kind of scoreboard picture of what this might look like. And, I mean, obviously the water guns are not going to be as big as that. And they probably won't be those kind of water guns. So this is a really good example of how an engineering problem can be applied to something really fun. So the water guns, they're not going to be water guns like that, but they could be activated by solenoids, which are switches, right? So basically you're pushing a button or triggering an action, and now a switch goes, and anything you want can happen from that switch. It doesn't have to be, well, it doesn't have to be anything, and it can be anything. So this I got from, this is a video, and it's 3 minutes long, and a lot of it is sales speak, but it tells us about what the Oculus is. So raise your hand if, after a couple minutes if you think we should stop watching it. So I make this loud.
Presence, the sense of presence in virtual reality is something fundamentally new. You actually, for the first time, you suddenly your brain says, okay, I'm comfortable in this environment. I know it's not real, but I think it is. With the second developer kit, the year of R&D, we're getting a lot closer.
DK2 has lower latency, higher frame rate, higher resolution, and low persistence, along with full 6-stop positional tracking. All of these combined allow for much better gameplay experiences and a much more comfortable user experience.
With DK2, we now have sub-millimeter accurate position tracking, which means that the user can respond the way it actually should in all cases.
That allows you to lean forward, lean backward in space, lean around corners. It just opens up so many gameplay opportunities. It changes fundamentally the way you can develop content.
Another huge improvement that we made is using a low persistence display. Our low persistence display shows an image only for a brief amount of time. Then the display goes dark until the next frame comes in. Doing this at a higher frame rate means that your brain does not see any motion or any judder in the remote image.
2 years ago, I thought all we needed was faster pixels to get to 120 hertz and response time to be done. And it was really exciting to see Valve's research, which demonstrated so vividly what a difference the low persistence display makes.
We've also greatly reduced reduce the latency in our system by improving our code, video pipeline, and display. Our original demo kit was 60 frames a second, not because that was what we really need for a great TBR experience. It was just the best display we could get our hands on over a year ago. Now we're using a higher frame rate OLED display that really makes a huge difference.
It's really not that there's just one thing that's better about TK2. It's how all these new features come together to really take the experience to a whole nother level.
We've spent the last years figuring out what consumer virtual reality needs to be. We know what we need to ship. Everyone at Oculus is passionate about building the best virtual reality technology in the world.
One of the big goals of Oculus is to bring together the smartest people in the world. We're working on hardware, software, we have creative, we have infrastructure. And the only way we're going to deliver virtual reality, the holy grail, this incredible pursuit of presence, is by recruiting the very, very best in the industry.
I think that's one of the main things that held virtual reality back for years. The right group of people never came together to work on the right problem. I think that's what Oculus has done. We're bringing together the best developers in the world, the best talent in the world, across multiple disciplines to build something that everyone thought could exist.
The virtual reality community is stronger than it's ever been before, and we would not be where we are without them. There are hundreds of virtual reality experiences being created, more content in the last year made for VR than in the last 20 years combined.
It's going to be the small teams that go out and do something that's so fundamentally cool that it winds up defining the language of the platform.
We can't wait to see the experiences that come out of all of these new features.
Sorry about all the sales speak, but I thought that they summed their piece of equipment better than I can. Did want to talk about the two sensors though that are in the headset. How many people here are working with the gyroscope? Anybody?
I do robotics and I usually work with that for my robot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you do a lot of math to figure out what position?
Yeah, we have like a special function that one of our old programmers created, and we just reuse that function and we pass values through. Yeah.
Cool. So gyroscopes are actually not used that, they're not super common. Like my phone, for example, doesn't have one, and while I was looking to see what sensors were in my phone, because I use this as a controller also, I found out that many phones don't have gyroscopes. But in this case, for the Oculus, so it's on the head, and they want to track your head in all these different directions, so they use the gyroscope sensor in the Oculus to do that. Put some math up there, which we can say that basically the way that they do this is they figure out the position of the head now and take the position of the head previously, and they add the angular speed times the frame rate together to get that to work. So the formula above is an easier formula that shows the concept. Like if you have a car and you want to figure out the miles per hour right now, take the previous miles per hour and you add that to the 1 hour times how fast you're going. So while I was researching all the sensors that were in the Oculus, I saw that there's some drift in the position sensor readings. So after you do several thousand frame rates, they need to zero it back out. So they use an accelerometer to do that. How many people here have accelerometers in their projects? Oh, only 2. Is there 3? Yeah, it's surprising. It seems to me like accelerometers are in every single thing that I'm building. So it's good. Some of people who don't work with accelerometers, you have an object floating in space, you're not going to measure any acceleration. When you move something in space, acceleration, you multiply it by gravity. Anyone here work with Unity? Cool. So Unity is the software that I'm developing in. It's free, and I would describe it like Photoshop with a third depth axis. So you have your X and Y, like in any other graphics program, and then you have a Z axis where you can put things in depth in 3D. And then if you make a character or a three-dimensional object, you write a script to attach that object to make it animated. And by scripting is in JavaScript. I know I heard JavaScript from somebody here earlier, and C#. And it's, you know, programming like in anything else. You're like move in X direction, move in Y direction. I think just the functionality of an animation might be a little bit different than the functionality of, say, like your project. You know, it's just functionality. Okay, so I can't hook my computer and the Oculus, like can't go to the projector and to my computer at the same time. So let me show you guys just quick the software, the Unity software, since I only saw four hands in here working. So this is moving because it thinks that my phone is supposed to be connected to it. So this is what the kind of thing that you can create in Unity. And you can do it pretty fast. Like, now we're going off the world. I think I'd rather demo this not connected to the projector. Can we do that? Yes, yeah, let's do some questions and then.
So, if I did game bounce, like, can you see the trampoline in the game? Because like, how do you know if the person's not going to fall off?
Very good question, and it's something that, unfortunately, a lot of other people that where I want to show this thing are asking me the same thing. They're like, you can't do this project because it's not safe.
It's not safe.
But I really like the idea, so I'm going to persist in doing it. You can get a trampoline with a bar. And so the way that I'm going to make this project safe is two ways. One way, I'm going to have a mat, like, so the trampoline is going to be flush with the ground. It'll just be a bounce surface. And I will also have a bar that will have sensors, touch sensors, that I'll hook up to the Oculus, so that the Oculus will go dark if you aren't holding on. Which makes it less fun, but it's helping me to get this project accepted.
Yeah.
Because right now, so far, like the places I've pitched it at are like, no. Any other questions? Yeah.
So you described like reaching for clouds in some aspect of the game.
Yeah.
How do you plan to track it with your hands, or do you have like control?
Yes, that's a really good question. Because I didn't touch on that. I'm going to use a Kinect to track. And I actually almost brought the Kinect here to show you guys, because that's another piece of magnificent hardware. It has a bunch of cameras and depth sensors, and it's amazing. So yes, with the Kinect, I'm sure many of you have seen that in the game, you can track depth, and that's how I'll do it. It'll just see that there is some object in a plane. I'll program it to have X, Y, and Z value over here. So that's how. Anyone else?
With this like unique jumping mechanic, have you thought of like Mario and stuff like that?
Actually, the end goal is to make Qbert. Anyone know Qbert? Qbert's a game from the 80s, 90s. Old.
That's why I know it.
Yeah, you guys, okay, so you weren't born yet, but still it's an
it's
iconic game.
Yeah.
Like Mario is an iconic game. Is it even Mario or is it something else? Donkey Kong? Like Mario
No,
from
no,
Donkey
It's
Kong?
still Mario.
We call it
Super
Super
Mario?
Mario.
Super Mario?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't play games, so I don't actually know.
So with that Oculus, I know one of the original development kits, like they had trouble because if you move your head from side to side when you're picking it up, is it one of those models or is it one of the ones in the video?
It's the old model. The new one is available. I pre-ordered and it's gonna come in September, supposedly. Yeah, and another big deal is that people experience nausea. Because what happens is it has very good tracking, and I think I'm really used to it, so I don't get nauseous that much. But if you move your head like this, your brain thinks you're somewhere in between, and it upsets your stomach. So, I mean, if you get nauseous easily, I wouldn't try this. Yeah.
So, how long do you think you have this on before running behind the
Most people say about 30 minutes. The resolution in this one is not that good. The resolution in the second one, so like they said in the video, the old one is 60 frames per second. The new one, but they didn't say that, but the new one is 1,000 frames per second. So, I mean, it's like a whole factor better in the next rep. And then, you know, I guess I will say something about engineering as a career. Oculus right now is hiring, I mean, obviously you guys aren't going to go work there, but just, you know, thinking to the future. They're hiring for all kinds of positions in engineering, electrical, hardware, and they're really excited. To me, they seem like very exciting positions.
Where are they, like center? Where is their headquarters?
They are in, I was going to say the Bay Area. They're in California, but somewhere in the middle. I'm not sure Silicon Valley or San Francisco.
Making that happen.
Right, right. I'm gonna go work there. Yeah. I mean, once I get my bounce game working, I would like to go there for a few months and do a project. So I'm gonna ask, or I try to do that. But as far as I can tell, many engineers that I know are all trying to go work there. So I mean, competitions and maybe that. Yeah.
In the game, do you think you could? The person who's actually playing the game was really see like something else other than clouds and
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think a year from now, my game will be a lot different than the way that I'm talking about it. And actually, the part that I have gotten working, and it's too much stuff for me to carry around with me, the phone, I'm using the accelerometer as a controller, and you guys know, like, it's a half balance ball, it's a platform, a round platform, and it has sort of a hemispherical bottom, and you can picture it's like about 12 inches in diameter. You stand on, it's an exercise piece of equipment. So I have something working where you can stand on this thing and put the phone between your legs and kind of move forward and navigate through the virtual world. So this is still, because it's not working, I'm actually, like I said, I've been having a lot of trouble with this. This is a baby step in between walking or standing and a trampoline. Yeah.
So like, since you use the trampoline, have you ever thought of like expanding it into like maybe a treadmill or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
like where you have the Oculus and like you're walking through the world?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody did something called Omni that was on a Kickstarter. They raised $1.1 million, which is unbelievable. And it is like, it's a cage, so they covered safety from the get-go. So you stand in this cage thing and walk with special slippery shoes on a slippery dome-shaped surface, concave dome-shaped. So it's like a treadmill, but not motion.
And they're wearing an Oculus.
And they're wearing an Oculus, and that interfaces with a lot of different games. And so, yes, I have very much considered, and maybe I will once my tech works a lot better, making a open source hardware thing that's just got an accelerometer, a gyroscope, maybe a magnetometer, the thing that measures north, on those, and you plop it on any piece of exercise equipment, like you make medicine balls, you can sit on this and navigate through the world, you can, yeah, any kind of thing.
For the safety issue of the trampoline, have you thought of making it like a baby walker, where it's like a thing that goes around your waist and it holds like the person?
Yeah.
What was the problem with that?
No, there's no problem. It's just,
It's kind of odd for.
no. I'm sighing because I love the unsafe idea of just flying through the air on the and yes, the harness thing is the best idea. all the safety. I mean, that's kind of what you're saying, right? It's like you're wearing a harness, but it's a stationary harness that's not hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you're right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's by far the most safe way to do this. And I think that's what I'm saying. A year from now, I'm pretty sure someone is going to force me into maximum safety with this thing. Like, for example, I applied with this project to Maker Faire, and I didn't tell them about the trampoline. I just said we would do the thing that I described, the hemispherical leaning thing. And I'm working with 2 other people, and those 2 other people absolutely won't let me do the trampoline either. So I feel like if I told Maker Faire, they would say what you said. Like, you can't come here unless you have something that people sit inside.
Because you're gonna have small children using it, so I'm assuming
Exactly.
you will.
I
And once
actually
they get, the first one that gets hurt, that's gonna be a giant lawsuit.
You're totally right. And it happens too. Like, it's not something, you know, I'm kind of laughing about it, but it's actually something very serious when you bring a project out into the world. For this game, there won't be anybody, I'm gonna make some kind of age restriction because I don't want someone getting nauseous. I'm hoping you all are adults enough to know your own limitations, and I mean, no one here is gonna be able to use this for long enough to get very sick anyway. But yeah, I can't have young children, you know, playing with this because I can't be responsible.
Have you ever thought of like making them sign some sort of contract or something? Like just being like, if you get hurt while using this, like it's not my fault.
I mean, it's actually, I probably shouldn't have been so jokey about it. It is very important to me that whatever I bring out into the world does not get people hurt. And if that means that a small child can't use my thing, that is what it means.
Have you ever video your eyes?
Yeah. Yeah. I've played multiple versions of different games that I've made. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people like have a habit of like shaking around or like moving. I'm one of those people too. And so how would you like factor that out while they're playing your game? If they didn't need to move forward, but they're just doing that because they can't really tell if they're moving forward or not.
You mean if they're standing?
They're like standing on this trampoline. They're jumping up and down, but they don't mean to move sideways. They need to jump in place.
It will be tracking if they're leaving the ground.
Yeah.
The trampoline will know. But let's use something that I am actually using. I'm going to call it a BSE ball. That's the thing that I'm talking about. This hemispherical thing that I am actually working with currently. In that case, the software that I have makes it so that it's pretty much 0 unless you really move. It doesn't work otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like if
So even
unless
if you're
you move
fidgeting,
a lot, then yeah.
you won't move.
Okay.
Yeah. Question? Got anybody else?